Hello, this is King Dryboo, and today I wanted to show off some of the maps I've been making. As you can see, they're all Super Mario 3 maps, worlds 1 through 8. I've been tinkering with each map, uh, trying to make it as viable as possible, but also trying to keep it as original as possible. And I wanted just to show off some of the maps. I've been doing some of the changes I have to do, and some of the changes I'm thinking about doing. Alright, Worlds 1 of Super Mario Bros. 3, the one that everyone knows. Mostly because they play the game, this pops up, the music, the visuals, very recognizable, very fun to look at. And I'm very happy to be able to recreate it in Wargroove. There's a lot of design features you can see on this. Of course, I have the dancing cactuses in the background. I use the little decorations of the rocks as points to go through between the levels. The actual rocks are mountains. Yeah, that makes sense. Making those cactuses were kind of a pain though. The door right here, of course, leads down to more of the level. Now, in Wargroove, if you want to do that or not, it's up to you on this map. I put the fort where it's supposed to be on the actual level, of course. For most of the placements of the buildings, I try to put anytime there's a fort on the map, I try to put a barracks right there because that makes sense. Levels usually make cities. I try to make the total houses different buildings if I can, and of course I put a barracks for the other player. Now you may see on the bottom here that there is a skeleton. Most people would think that's like to offset the first turn advantage player 1 gets. This does done a lot of more competitive things, and as much as that helps, that's not the reason why he's there. He's there because on the actual map, there is a hammer bro standing right there. There's moving enemies already on the map, and for all the maps, I put them down where they're supposed to be on the actual Super Mario Bros. Map. So it's kind of only like a happy coincidence that also helps the game. So here is what the map looks like from an overview. I'm very happy how the map visually looks like. I think this looks very nice. Now this is World 2. This is the desert level. Actually, come to think about it, a lot of Super Mario 3's maps are deserts. Like the last world, even though it feels like it would be like a plains almost, it's a desert if you look at it, and it has cactuses everywhere. And then like the world after is also a desert. And there's even worlds that are not deserts that still have cactuses. So like this big desert theme in this game. I don't know exactly why, but deserts literally everywhere. Going back to it, of course, you'll see that I put the palm trees of the level, of course. The jagged rocks are supposed to be the pyramids in the background, except for the actual pyramid level, which I made a city, because I want to keep levels cities, even the unique ones like that. Over here, if you go up a bit, this rock right here, if you break through that, you get to this hidden area over here, which I didn't know about. This hidden area has the 3, of course, and it has this guy down here, which is actually a fire bro. Reason why I made him an archer, that range for range. These guys are pretty rare. Unless you're like trying to look for them, you're only gonna find one in like World 8 and nowhere else. So it will take this guy kind of a while to get back to the main force, where the rest of his team is. So I guess that balances that out. You also see that there is the player 1 has things pre-capped and player 2 doesn't. That because player 2 here has already 3 units on the field and player 1 does not. So to make it more even and fair, I decided to go for that route. I'm still testing it out and see how effective that actually is, of course. with this world in particular, I feel like it's pretty balanced from the testing I've been doing. But I'm always up for more testing, more matches. I'm thinking of maybe like hosting games online and see who wants to pop in. All right, this is how the world looks like from an overview. I think it looks pretty amazing. So, World 3, my personal stopping point as a little kid, and the infamous giant cheat sheet zone. Now, with this map, it needs more testing. So, the thing is that most of these cities are uncaptured. And as you know, if you ever play World 3, the castle's like way over here. So, I still am thinking of different ways to balance the map for World 2, Player 2, sorry. To make it fair for both sides. I'm thinking maybe have the barracks pre-capped and everything else uncaptured and see how that works. So, a really big plus for this world is that I was able to add naval combat, since, you know, most of it's in water, of course. So, for water levels, they're usually in the water. So, like right underneath this city here, you can see that this bit is just floating on a tiny little island. Usually in Wargroove, like these cities, they'll be like literally in the ocean. However, I ran into some flaws on that side of the map, adding that, blocking pretty much the bridge. So for there, I decided to add a actual city instead of one of those floating cities that Wargroove has. For some of the little map features, we got the Hammer Bros. Unfortunately, the guy on the bottom dies really quickly. Also, a part of the map, right over here is the canoe that brings you to like the island right here that's gotten from breaking the rock right there, which is pretty nice. Now, you may have noticed that there really aren't that many beaches on this map. That's because the actual worlds are pretty tightly knit, and to add beaches on both sides to make it fair, of course, it would make it much wider and look kind of awkward. So I decided to not go for the beach option. One big challenge of this, of course, is balancing, of course. These maps are not like from a spreadsheet of, oh, a competitive map here, do this, this, and this, and that, and you make a pretty decent, fair map on both sides. Mirror it, maybe, something like that. These are maps from Super Mario Bros. 3, of course, which requires a lot of testing and a lot of finicking to be able to make right. And here is a view of the map from an overview. So now we're on World 4, Giant Land, and despite the name, it's really the smallest. Well, I guess the first world might have been smaller, but this map is pretty small. It's literally just an island. So this map is surrounded by like flowers in the background. I think like fire flowers. To emulate that, I had the flowers in Wargroove. Now you'll see that the commander guy is all the way over here. Usually I put the commander where Mario would be in the actual game. So yeah, next to the starting point, of course. The problem is with this world, the starting point is all the way over here. It's pretty impractical for him to go all the way over here to walk all the way over there, and then, you know, back on the actual main island. Now, this map I'm still working with and going through some flaws. Now, as you can see, the blue team has a pretty significant unit advantage, and it's a pretty small map. What I think I'm gonna do is gonna have the red team just have more cities so they can catch up faster, while the blue team has to catch stuff themselves. So without capturing these cities down here, even though they're a part of the like original level, become an issue because of choke point most of the time. In any case, here is the map from an overview. Now with World 5, this is an interesting one. So the world is split into two parts. The first part being the land that you go through to get to the Spiral Tower that allows you to enter the sky on a cloud. Now one bummer that I ran into is that I can't really make the bottom like land portion and the top cloud portion look like land and the cloud. I mean, the land part looks like land, but the cloud doesn't. And these little bear pelts down here. They're supposed to be like the stars in the background of the cloud. So for a design bit, I just kind of chose to make it look as much as it can, like visually. So the land looks a little weird. Now you may have noticed that the top portion actually has a lot less levels than the bottom does. And to try to balance that, I made the top portion have pretty much all the cities right off the bat. Before if I get to see it, here's the overview. Now, with World 6, there's a big contrast between Player 1 and Player 2. Now, this world has quite a decent amount of Hammer Bros. And with Player 1, is that they get a pretty good defensible position right off the bat with all these mountains around. However, this also backfires on them because the door is required to access more of the level, of course. Also blocks you. It makes this choke point here. Now, with Player 2, they get access to quite a bit of the land. So, oh, right. And as you can see here, the water levels actually put the floating cities like I wanted to. This choke point here makes a really big issue, but I managed to beat it regardless. I went like through the mountains and around. To balance this, I made pretty much blue have nothing when it comes to catchers. I mean, they get to catch a lot on their own anyway. And honestly, maybe I'll give red some more pre-cap stuff, but I'm still thinking about it. Here is the overview of the map. Now on to the pipe maze, World 7. I used to hate this world. Going through the pipes and realizing you're on the wrong side, then having to go back again is annoying. In the background, there's a bunch of chompers, so I use those little plants that I think kind of look like it. Now, there's actual chopper enemies, unlike with the Hammer Bros of other levels, so I decided to use pikemen because they don't move as much, like the chompers that don't move at all. Here's the overview of the map. With this world, it's a lot of naval and air and barely any ground, and it being really close to each other. More testing required in this. Last, or my experience first, is World 8. This is the first world I started working on before all the other ones. So for the fire in the background and pretty much all the decoration, I kind of ran out of assets, so that was fun. There used to be a lot more fire like around the first bit here, but I had to cut it down. I hope it still doesn't look too bad though. Anyone who has played Super Mario Bros. 3 and made it all the way to World 8 knows that World 8 is basically like 4 mini worlds, up to, you know, Bowser's Castle being the last. So instead of making 4 really small, almost unplayable maps, that would be kind of lame. What I did is I combined every single world of World 8 into one map. And then from there, I connected them to each other, you know, so that they're not just floating above the lava. Now, World 8, with Bowser's Castle, Bowser's Castle was like this big building, so I made like a couple of cities in the barracks next to his HQ, but that made it uneven for player 1, so I made these cities right here. I usually don't like adding what is supposed to be levels in my own definition into random parts of the level. But for a player 1 to work, I need to add that. That being said, I don't think it intrudes too much. You also will notice that some of the pre-deploys are actually owned by player 1. World 8 has tanks, like which I made the trebuchet here. And of course the airships, which I made balloons, which I think works perfectly. The reason why these guys are pre-deployed as the friendly units, because of course if you have the trebuchet so close to the enemy HQ and enemy barracks, the commander has to go and fight it, and it just takes them too long to do anything. So I had to compromise and, you know, spawn them as friendlies. Now, with all these skulls and the axes here, I'm pretty happy how things turned out. The look of it at least looks pretty good. Looks like it was supposed to be. I wish I could make the skulls bigger, personally. I think that would be perfect. Now with Bowser's Castle down here, I actually, you'll see the trebuchet right there, which is supposed to be the tank, of course, and then the castle floor. And that stops the trebuchet from going over here and catching everything, because these guys up here take too long to get down here. And these guys at Bowser's Castle can easily get up there. Meanwhile, our boys in red here will take a little bit to walk to the right. So that was specifically so that they don't just start curb stomping everything right in the start of the match, which is pretty unfair for the red team here, of course. I think balance-wise, the map is pretty balanced, but I would like to, of course, like was there on the map, test it more. Now, as for Bowser's Castle here, you'll notice there's a couple of dead forests here, and pretty much the only trees in the entire map. In every world of Super Mario Bros. 3, there are toad houses, of course, that there was toads inside that are gonna go and help you. But in World 8, there's sort of like these line of dead toad houses that lead straight up to Bowser's Castle, which is very foreboding. It's like you get no help. It's you and Bowser. And I love that, so I had to add that. It's like a really important part of Bowser's Castle. Personally, I am very happy how that looks. In fact, here is the overview of the entire map. I really like how everything came out, but in particular, if I had to choose, I like how the first level and the last level of Bowser's Castle, of course, looks the most. So that's about it. I just wanted to show off some of the maps I've been making and testing out, and trying to make it as fair for both sides as possible, and as true to the actual maps of the game they come from. I think doing this is pretty cool. At least to me, I really enjoy it. I just wanted to share it here. I might host some of the games online in Wargroove here. I'm on the PS4 version of the game here. I have the Switch version as well, but I had to go through the campaign, and I suppose remake these maps again if I wanted to. Alright, and for people that are still here watching the video, thank you very much for watching. This has been all the maps I've been making Super Mario Bros. 3. I might put out an update when I feel like these maps are in a really good spot, but they're still a long ways, I believe. Anyway, you have a great rest of your day, and goodbye.